This is from the notebooks of Dr. Cotard. I did a book, the Cotard syndrome. I've always been fascinated by the Cotard syndrome as well. These are things. One of the great things about taking your time. One of the things about giving a lifetime over to poetry is you can keep coming back to things that have interested you for a very long time, and you don't have to finish them off, say 40 years ago, or finish them off 20 years ago. You can come back to them and do them again, and maybe get them right this time. There's one poem I've never been able to get right. It's one of the first I ever wrote. It's very good up to the last line, and I can't get the last line right. And I know the last line is, any last line I would put in now would not be right because I'm not the same person. Very difficult, very annoying too, because it's a very good poem, and I'd love to be able to publish it. But the Cotard syndrome, it was in 1888, I think, a woman presented herself in Dr. Cotard's, waiting in Dr. Cotard's clinic in Paris, and she said that she was dead. She told him she was dead. And he had to deal with this. And quite a number of people found it was much more common than people thought. This particularly strange dimension, strange illusion that they were dead, or that some part of them was dead, or that they were missing with their liver, or somebody had taken out a lung, or something, or that something had happened to them, something strange had happened to them. And I read a lot about this, read a huge amount about this, and they said that the nearest we can get to it, most of us now, the nearest we can get to understanding the Cotard syndrome, what it must be like for somebody with it, is being in an airport, a very, very busy airport. Imagine being in a very, very busy airport for about 3 days, not changing, the light not changing, the sounds not changing, just the same chaos going on around you all the time. You become totally dissociated, totally unfocused. That, they say, is something like what it might be. So I followed it through, and eventually I wrote a book called The Cotard Dimension. And there's a poem in that called From the Notebooks of Dr. Jules Cotard, 1840 to 1889. Is that distorting glass in the bathroom mirror? No, I don't believe so. Why? When I looked just now, I didn't recognize myself. I did not see someone else, but if I didn't know myself, then who was it I saw? There is no God or devil, said Madame Zero to her lover. I am dead these 40 years, invisible before my time, must live like this forever. An empty fairy tale of ice, a solitary offstage voice. And if that goes, I will be lost, water dripping on my arms, not knowing where I've gone. As the first thing was the words, the end of everything is silence, the silence before the sound and the silence after at the end of language. To go out like a candle, amid owls and jackals, or a paraffin lamp in darkness, with the enormous silence full of inaudible music. From my father I inherited a love of lonely places, old graveyards, empty parks and gardens, canal banks, railway lines, country paths, the seashore in the morning, the time my son and I, for 5 long days in Umbria, saw not a single soul, knew that we were dead, and taught the sheep upon the hill behind the house to sing. Confusion of airports, anonymity of numbers, and in the forest, in the cool, dark forest, the unreality of green. In crowds to see and feel desire, to recognize it, to see it in a stranger's eyes, causes the blood to stop, coagulate despite the physicality, the pumping of the heart. To be a locus only that registers the passage of events. 3 figures on a balcony in Mexico, a famous painter, a famous writer, a famous revolutionary. The accidental others in the picture, a young couple, have not been identified. Little Sosolo loved flowers, reached out to touch, and the red Tsar learnt to walk. And finally the brazen calf automaton begins to speak. Trifles prosecuted roars, identity accelerates reflection, mirror assures the image, and image worships mirror. In vain the nerves lust, will love shelve the fantasy, the origin access memory, what good is this? Why can memory not groan? Now, a further thing about that poem is it's a very disorientating poem. I find it so anyway, even to read it, I find it sort of throwing around the place. But one of the things about it was, in order to finally get I was pursuing this idea of getting the disorientation as real as I could get it, which meant as random as I could get it. So I kind of set a program on the computer and got the computer to write it for me. And the last verse in that poem comes from the computer, from this program on the computer, and I just left it as it was. Just edited it and left it as it was. And finally, the brazen calf automaton begins to speak. Trifles prosecute, it roars. Identity accelerates reflection. Mirror assures the image, and image worships mirror. In vain the nerves lust, will love shelve the fantasy, the origin access memory. What good is this? Why can memory not groan? If I could just say something more about the end of that poem, actually, about the thing about getting the computer to finish the poem for me. I was also at that stage, I was thinking back on a film I'd seen many, many years before, in the 60s, a film by Jean-Luc Cotard, Alphaville, which is a wonderful poem about a computer and about the world to come, being run by computers. It seemed absent, and I think it is. I think the poem is disjointed, it does come across as disjointed, confused, but it's for real though.